Hello, Highway this week starts with a beautiful view, one of the finest in the southeast of England. Now, on a very clear day, and it isn't today unfortunately, you can see a huge part of Kent and Sussex, and over there to the west, a little bit of Surrey too. Today, everyone can enjoy this scenery without worry. But a century ago, it seemed as if this part of Kent was about to be changed forever. The suburbs of southeast London were growing just a few miles from here, and these woodland glades of Toys Hill and Ide Hill were waiting to fall into the housing developers' laps. But an eminent Victorian lady, Octavia Hill, who, with the help of colleagues, formed the National Trust in 1894, realised the value of an unspoilt landscape for the nearby city dwellers. So, with the help of many donations, some as small as 5 shillings, which is 25p for the younger viewers, this vantage point was purchased for the enjoyment of all, for now and evermore. In the years that followed, the same National Trust saved many lovely views and historic homes around here. That's one of the reasons why, although it's only a few hundred yards from the ever-busy M25, London's orbital motorway, the thriving community of Westerham, which we're visiting for this week's highway, still has the air of an old-fashioned country town. Anyone who believes home is where the heart is will be interested to learn how many townsfolk have left Westerham for faraway places and yet always yearn to return here. None more so than Sir Winston Churchill. This, his home, Chartwell, was for Sir Winston not only a much-loved house, but also, in his own words, the very epitome of England. 50 years ago, in 1940, the free world he loved and was to serve so faithfully was in great peril. Soon the Battle of Britain was to begin in the skies over Chartwell, and by then, as Prime Minister, Churchill would be inspiring us all in that epic struggle to fight for life. He knew that it would be only through sacrifice and much suffering that a safe new world would be born. We could all return to the peace of home. Here are some words about the homeward journey set to the Largo from Dvorak's most famous symphony.
Going home, going home, I'm a-going home. Quiet like sun, still day, I'm just going home. It's not far, just close by, through an open door. Work all done, care laid by, going to fear no more. Mother's there expecting me, father's waiting too. Lots of folk gathered there, all the friends I knew. All the friends I knew. Home, home. Nothing's lost or gained, no more fret nor pain, no more stumbling on the way, no more longing for the day, gone to roam no more. Morning star lights the way, restless dreams all done, shadows gone, break of day, real life just begun. There's no break, there's no end, just a living on, wide awake with a smile, going on and on. Going home. just going home. It's not far, just close by, through an open door. I'm just going home.
Perhaps the greatest compliment Sir Winston Churchill could pay Chartwell was his belief that any day away from it was a day wasted. Someone who knew at first hand Sir Winston's love of his home and surroundings is Victor Vincent, who was head gardener here during the Churchill's time and still lives on the ground here at Chartwell. Mr. Vincent, where was Sir Winston's favourite spot in the garden?
Well, we're there now, sir. The water garden was always his favourite spot. Oh yes, I used to say he was like a child with water, but he loved the water garden, and well, in fact, he made a lot of it, and all these pools and that are connected up with valves and pipes that were. You know, he was always trying to improve the system in some way or another. When he was here, he would come down here every day and feed the fish and so on. In those days, we had biscuits and maggots and so on. And, oh, he loved it. And he would get the biscuit meal and chuck it in, and after a few moments he would say, no, give them the caviar, and so on.
When I get to heaven, I mean to spend a considerable portion of my first million years in painting, and so to get to the bottom of the subject. But then I shall require a still gayer palette than I get here below. I expect orange and vermilion will be the darkest, the dullest colours upon it. And beyond them, there will be a whole range of wonderful new colours which will delight the celestial eye.
No one can read those words as well as you can, because, of course, you're Sir Winston's grandson. Appropriate, because not only was he also christened Winston, but he's followed in his grandfather's footsteps by becoming an MP. What other memories have you got of Sir Winston?
Ah, so many. During the wartime years at Chequers, which many people just won't credit, the Prime Minister, in the midst of all his responsibilities and heavy burden of office, would get down on his hands and knees on the floor to play Clockwork Trains with me.
Did he?
And on one occasion, he spied that the set had two little railway engines, and he said, you wind one up, Winston, I'll wind the other up. We'll put them back to back. Let's have a crash.
Tell us a little about Man Maya.
Well, I came across this little Nepali girl, aged 9, when I was in East Nepal with the House of Commons Defence Select Committee just over a year ago. And many of the victims of the earthquake which had taken place in Nepal in August '88 had been brought there, including this little girl. And in spite of the obvious pain she was in, she was laughing and joking and gutsy. And I suddenly, in that instant, thought, she has everything, she has nothing, we have everything. How nice it would be to help that little girl. And when I got to a telephone in Kathmandu, I telephoned my wife Minnie and said, you've just acquired another daughter. She said, my goodness, what's going on? And anyway, we have half adopted her. I mean, she still has parents in Nepal, but we are looking after her education and her medical well-being.
Squerry's Court is another of Westerham's historic houses, but just as important, it's home for the Ward family, who've been here for more than 250 years. It's a setting we've chosen to hear from the Carnival of the Animals by Saint-Saëns, the Swan. It's played by Sheila Bromberg and David Lawrence. Now to meet another of Westerham's residents. I've had to travel to this house, and while it is his house, it's certainly not his home. Puzzled? Well, let me explain. The house is the House of Commons, and I've come here to meet the Speaker, Mr. Bernard Weatherall. Mr. Speaker, are you glad to get back to Westerham after the hurly-burly of the House?
Absolutely. I mean, what everyone needs in a busy life, and I am not alone in having a busy life, but this is a life of great stress. Yeah. Perhaps it is not generally known that we start our days here with prayer. Sometimes people complain that Prime Minister's questions are rather noisy, and I did have to remind the Prime Minister the other day when this matter arose that we do spend slightly longer at prayer each week than we spend at Prime Minister's questions. And the prayer for Parliament goes back to 1597, and it was composed by one of my 134 predecessors, Sir Christopher Yelverton, and it is this: Almighty God, by whom alone kings reign and princes decree justice, and through whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom, and understanding, we, thine unworthy servants, here gathered together in thy name, do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above, to direct and guide us in all our consultations, and grant that we, having thy fear always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the Queen, and the public wealth, peace, and tranquility of the realm, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another.
Close to a formidable statue of Sir Winston Churchill on the green in Westerham is a stirring memorial to the town's second most famous resident, James Wolfe. In his short life, this courageous but compassionate soldier became a national hero, dying fighting for his country at the Siege of Quebec in 1759. Wolfe grew up here, and not inappropriately, it is now known as Quebec House. And it's here that we listen to some Mozart piano music played for us by Catherine May. Some homes, as we've seen, provide just the right setting for music making. Now, two magnificent grand pianos give a clue to the owner of this lovely home. The distinguished concert pianist, Dr. Eileen Joyce, who, although living in retirement, still delights audiences here in her own home.
So,
thank you, Dr. Eileen. That was beautiful.
isn't it a beautiful sound?
Yes.
They are lovely. They're what I call vintage Steinways.
Are they a bit different from your first piano?
Oh yes, that was only a little, little tiny upright with cracked keys. It came from my Uncle Ali's pub
Did it?
in Australia. He had a pub opposite.
Yes.
I think I got on his nerves that always going into this
Yes,
cracked piano.
yes.
And finally it was wheeled across to our house and it was mine.
And that's how you started to play, was it?
That's right.
And then you went to Leipzig.
Yes, I was sent to Leipzig at the age of 14, not knowing where babies came from or anything. Completely innocent. And they thought I was going to be black.
Did they?
Yeah.
Why was that?
They were disappointed. Well, I suppose they thought anything from Australia was black.
Oh, I see. I recognise that dress as a Norman Hartnell original.
Yes, it is. You're quite right. All the wonderful embroidery. Nobody can do that sort of thing now these days. It's all done by hand.
It's magnificent, it really is,
Yeah.
isn't it? And of course, you'd never met him before.
Well, I was very poor, and I just had little shoes and short socks. And I went in bravely and said, Mr. Hartnell, I'm going to play somewhere important. Can you help me? And he looked down on me with great sorrow and, you know,
Yes.
and he made the most beautiful dress.
Everybody remembers you from the war when you played in all those blitzed towns, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
What was that like?
That was terrifying. There was only Winifred, what was her name, at the harpist, and we clung together, the two of us, travelling everywhere, sitting out London waiting for the bombs to stop, you know. Terrifying.
And when you're ready, okay, now reverse. You're going the other way, that's it.
Anna Herring is having a driving lesson.
And keep reversing until I tell you to stop, Anna, okay?
Anna is handicapped,
Watch your
but she's
back,
benefiting from being a pupil at a unique boarding school run by Kent County Council.
Keep going.
In a parkland setting just outside Westerham, Varron's School helps its pupils to develop the skills which will allow them to leave their home base here and live independent lives. Barry, what do the children learn here at the school?
Well, exactly the same as all other children learn.
Yeah.
Plus, of course, the need to become more independent because they have problems which have got to be sorted out. But it's a normal school timetable, and they're expected to achieve all the time.
Anna, what do you like doing best? Now, we've just seen you having a driving lesson. You did very well, didn't you?
Very much enjoy it.
Great reversing,
Yeah.
that was. But what else do you like? What subjects do you like?
I'm quite keen on maths, and I like doing handicrafts, things like knitting or embroideries.
What does the Independence Flat mean to you, then?
I think it means everybody gets a bit of independence for when they actually leave school and maybe get a flat. There's two people who share the flat for a week, and we have to do all our own cooking and all our own jobs, and we have somebody with us but not actually helping us.
I think it's very easy to get into a position with children here where there's so much care and love around this place that it's easy to overlook that when they leave here, they're going out into a very harsh world where they're going to have to cope with all the things that other people cope with, plus their disabilities.
In this season of Lent, Westerham's Parish Church of St Mary the Virgin is a place of quiet, offering space for inner reflection. Far from home. Now she lives in Tasmania, but she's back in Kent for a holiday, showing her Vietnamese husband Truong Nguyen and baby Daniel her childhood home. Fran, what convinced you to become a missionary?
Well, once I'd come home for a weekend, having been at hospital where I was studying, I came home and I heard a missionary talking about go into all the world and preach the good news. And that to me was direct into my heart. I knew that was personal, and I had to respond to that.
So off you went then to Hong Kong. How did you feel leaving your family and heading for Hong Kong?
Well, it wasn't easy, but I had a scripture from Mark chapter 10, verses 29 and 30, which is saying anybody who leaves mother, father, brothers or sisters and their home for the gospel's sake will be rewarded, along with persecutions. And that, I hung on to that, and that stood by me and still stands by me now.
So, tell us where you met your husband.
I met him in Melbourne, in Australia, although he has come from Vietnam and he came via a camp in Thailand, and then got resettled into Australia and came to me and asked for English lessons, conversation. And so we had 3 or 4 chat lessons, and then things developed from there, really.
Now here you are, married, a little boy, Daniel. So what are your plans now then?
Now we're going to go back to Tasmania for another year of college for my husband. And then after that, we'll wait and see what God says.
Do you miss home? I mean, Westerham, England even?
Yes, I do. I love home, I love Mum and Dad. Without their support and the background, I think it would be very difficult to be so far away. And yet, I know that that's where I'm supposed to be for the time being.
As we near the end of our visit to Westerham, we move back to Toys Hill near those lovely views, but this time to see a most remarkable farm.
The first thing we did was to plant trees, and I think some of my farmer friends thought it was a rather silly thing to do with all this woodland around here. But if you turn around and look up to Toys Hill, you will see all the trees are gone, and I've got I feel a bit smug about it, I suppose. 1,500, 2,000 very nice English oak trees coming on, which will, many years' time, will replace those that are up there.
What are you doing to encourage wildlife?
I think the most fun has been this pond.
Really?
Yeah, there was just a little muddy patch there.
Yeah.
And we built it, and here it is. But the most rewarding and exciting thing possible, we've had 6 or 7 types of waterfowl here. You know, the ordinary coot and the moorhen, but we've had tufted duck and little grebe, Canada geese and their families. And on top of that, we get the grass snakes feeding on the frogs, masses of frogs. Yeah. And we have kingfisher. And our best friend of all is Harry the heron, who comes over there and eats all the fish I put in.
So what Octavia Hill first encouraged us to value, and Winston Churchill helped us all to fight for in war, is evident here in this little farm, as it works in harmony with nature, contributing to a secure future for everyone. In 2 weeks' time, highway goes to Berwick upon Tweed, where she'll be looking at the heritage of the sea. I'll see you then.